just asking for a simple thing, to sit where her father took his last breath. But Judge Marilyn Caton? She saw nothing but a nuisance. And when Amira broke down, the judge laughed. Right there. Loud enough for everyone to hear. Can you imagine that? Laughing at a grieving kid. Yeah, that happened. The courtroom door creaked open, and all eyes snapped to the new arrival. There she was, slim, quiet, wrists cuffed in silver shackles, hoodie hanging loose. Amira Bell, barely 17. No mother, no lawyer, nobody standing behind her. The silence in that room was thick, like everyone already knew the story before a word was said. The bailiff dropped her cuffs on the table with a clink and walked off like she was nothing. Amira didn't flinch. From her high bench, Judge Caton pushed her glasses down, sizing her up with a cold, dismissive twitch. Let me guess, the judge said dryly. No attorney? No, Your Honor. Stifled, but unmistakable. Someone whispered behind the prosecutor. God help her. Must have watched too many courtroom dramas. The judge tapped her gavel, eyes sharp and icy. This isn't a debate club, Ms. Bell. This is a court of law. In the front row, Officer Owen Carter sat up straight, eyes narrowing as they landed on the intake form. Amira Bell. Next of kin. Victor Bell. His breath caught. Victor Bell, dead last year during a zoning protest. A man who designed half the city's buildings. The name wasn't just paperwork. It carried weight. At the back, Lena Brooks, fresh out of journalism school, held her phone low, live streaming quietly. She'd read the docket and knew this wasn't some ordinary case. Something told her this girl's story wouldn't fade into silence. The prosecutor stepped forward, voice firm. Your Honor, the defendant is charged with repeated unlawful entry into condemned property owned by the city. Trespassing on 432 Willow Avenue. Third offense in 6 months. Amira's shoulders tensed. The prosecutor kept going. That house is unsafe. Structural damage, floors collapsed. That house, Amira interrupted, voice rising just enough, is my home. The room froze. It was your home. The judge corrected coldly. Now it belongs to the city. You were warned. I didn't break in, Amira said, steady but soft. I sat on the front steps. That's where my father died, that porch. Her voice cracked, carrying the weight of his last breath. A long silence followed, no one quite ready for that moment. Judge Caton shifted uncomfortably. Ms. Bell, I'm not here for stories. I'm here to enforce the law. You're not listening, Amira whispered. The judge's eyes narrowed sharply. You've already made up your mind, Amira said, lifting her gaze, calm but firm. The cuffs were just for show. A gasp ran through the room. Even Officer Carter looked fully at her now. You think I'm just another case, another kid who thinks the world owes her something? Amira asked. But you don't know what my father gave this city. You don't know what was stolen when they bulldozed our future and called it code enforcement. Judge Caton's face hardened. You're this close to contempt of court. No, Amira said quietly. I'm this close to being heard. Lena's hand trembled slightly as she steadied her phone. Her live stream count ticked up. The judge slammed the gavel. Enough. Amira didn't flinch, stood just like her father taught her. Stand still, he said once, holding her hands on that very porch. Even when the world tries to move you. She whispered, it's not trespassing. It's home. Some people shifted, unimpressed. The judge snapped back. This court deals in facts, Ms. Bell, not poetry. Amira looked down at her trembling hands, not from fear, but from holding back everything inside. For a moment, her eyes softened. She was 6 years old again, crouching in the Georgia heat, dabbing cool water on her dad's forehead as he mixed concrete, sweat dripping down his back, laughing, telling her, one brick at a time, baby girl. This house will stand long after I'm gone. She had built it herself, every nail, every beam, not just a roof, but the only place her family ever felt safe. I used to fall asleep on that porch, Amira said softly, almost to herself. Judge Caton didn't blink. You violated a sealed order 3 times. It wasn't sealed when I opened that door, Amira said quietly. I walked into my father's hallway. Not a crime scene. Victor Bell, the architect of Mercy Ridge Hospital, community centers, veterans' homes. A local hero who donated his time to build homes for homeless vets. Owen's eyes widened. Amira stood there, alone, but with more dignity than any adult he'd seen all week. She didn't ask for pity or drama. She just wanted to sit where her parents once laughed, sang, lived, and died. Lena hit publish. Caption: The land remembers. Within minutes, hundreds, then thousands watched. Comments flooded in. Is this real? Why isn't anyone talking about this girl? Victor Bell's daughter? But inside the courtroom, none of that mattered yet. Judge Caton leaned back, unimpressed. You're here to defend yourself, Ms. Bell, not rewrite history. Amira took a deep breath. Remembering her father's words before his last chemo. Stand still even when the world tries to move you. She nodded once. I'm not here to rewrite anything. I'm here to remember what matters. The judge snapped. If you want to defend yourself, then prove it. Amira didn't move. I will. The judge's voice cut like ice. You're not here because of grief. You're here because of choice. The courtroom was silent. No objections. It sounded reasonable to most. Just another scolding for a kid in trouble. But to those paying attention, it was dismissal, not of her story, but of her existence. Amira's eyes didn't flicker, but her lifted chin said it all. This wasn't justice. It never had been. The prosecutor rose, voice without pity. Your Honor, given MS. Bell's repeated violations and prior warnings, there's no reason to drag this out. I recommend sentencing today. No mention of the reeds Amira left on the porch. No mention that it was her home once. Just warnings. Violations. Efficiency. Amira didn't argue or plead. She stared at the ceiling, eyes fixed as if beyond the fluorescent lights, far from the people who had already judged her. Some thought she was holding back tears. But Officer Carter watched closer. No, that wasn't fear. It was something else. She was separating herself, like his cousins had done at their father's military funeral, holding it all inside until later, alone. Judge Caton straightened. Didn't lower her eyes. Lena captured the moment. A few feet away, a teenage girl on a school trip wiped tears, embarrassed she'd laughed when the judge called Amira just another lost girl. The judge raised an eyebrow, caught off guard. One call, at intake, per protocol. Amira nodded, no thanks, no reaction. Because in her silence, something louder was growing. Lena didn't stream this time. She just recorded. Somehow, she knew this wasn't the end, it was the spark. Outside, the hashtag when dignity is punished blew up. Shares. Comments. Thousands. Back inside, everything stayed frozen in procedure, judgment, silence. In the holding room, Amira sat at the edge of a plastic chair, one hand cuffed to the table, phone cold against her cheek. A green light. Minutes later, back in court, nothing had changed, except Amira. The judge tapped her gavel, smirked. Calling for pity won't delay sentencing. Amira didn't respond. This is bigger than it looks. Officer Carter couldn't shake the feeling. While the judge reviewed paperwork, he dug deeper into Amira's file. He noticed timestamps off, seizure notices filed after eviction dates. By law. Invalid. The deed transfer? Suspiciously fast. Barely 48 hours after her father's funeral. Not bureaucracy. A setup. He looked at Amira, not as a rebellious teen, but as someone who'd known exactly what this fight was. Outside, Lena's live stream pulled more in. University students gathered, watching silently. No chance. Just presence. Back inside, Judge Caton still ignored the storm brewing. But this time, the game was shifting. Amira sat calm, hands free now, eyes forward, not defiant. Not scared, just ready. And that readiness was contagious. The courtroom felt it. The tension wasn't with her anymore. It was what was coming. Judge Caton slammed the gavel, satisfied. Then click, clack, click. Confident high heels echoed down the hall. Lena whispered, "That's not just anyone." The doors burst open. A tall black woman stepped in, sharp blazer, badge shining. Her presence sliced through the routine. Heads turned. The judge's cold voice. "This is closed. You're interrupting." The woman's gaze didn't waver. "So was your ruling," she said, voice sharp. Lena whispered to her live viewers, "The sister's here. And she's a storm." Amira's stone face softened for the first time, a smile of relief, recognition. The plan was moving. Judge Caton demanded, "Identify yourself. This isn't how court works." The woman stepped closer, calm, commanding. Janelle Bell, Director of Urban Planning, licensed engineer, zoning arbitrator. And older sister of the defendant you sentenced without due process. She laid down a folder, property maps, zoning approvals, letters filed before the property was sealed. Her voice steady but thunderous. You violated protocol. The seizure was rushed. The notice never reached us. The appeal ignored. Katon's lips thinned. You can't just barge in. Fingers hovering over his phone, a voice whispering, backtrack now. Janelle turned to Carter. You reviewed the file. The architect's signature. Victor Bell. Her father. Civic trust status. Unprepared for consequences. She placed a flash drive on the table. Minutes from zoning meetings proving the property wasn't eligible for repossession. Lena's stream hit 20,000 viewers. Comments exploded. This flipped the whole case. Who is this woman? Outside, students held up phones, sharing the live feed. Janelle looked back at Amira. You okay, kid? Amira nodded. I waited. That word hung, prophetic. Janelle smiled, fierce but gentle. You did good. Now let's finish this. Amira rose slowly. Chains clinked. Judge Caton opened her mouth, but Officer Carter moved first. Your Honor, we need to pause. On what grounds? That we might have jailed the wrong person for the wrong reason, in front of the wrong audience. The room exhaled. Janelle laid down a thick folder, sound louder than any gavel. For the record, original documents. The judge leaned in, composure cracking. What are we reviewing? Janelle looked at Amira, then the room. Deed of ownership. Property tax records. A posthumous commendation for Victor Bell, my father, who built that house brick by brick while designing the hospital your city relies on. She placed a laminated photo of Victor smiling with a governor's medal on top. Lena zoomed in, whispering, this is about to go viral. The courtroom went cold. Judge Caton flipped through papers. Ownership signatures, clean legal notices, her own foreclosure order, signed 6 months ago. Based on automated zoning review. No personal check, no due process. Color drained from her face. Officer Carter stood, voice steady. These documents contradict the seizure basis. We must vacate immediately. A ripple through the room. Lena captured the judge's shock. Eyebrows raised, lips parted, eyes searching like reading a foreign language. She snapped a frame. Judge realizes she's sentenced a hero's daughter. Views exploded. Tens of thousands, then over 100,000. Outside, the crowd grew. Signs rose silently. Inside, Judge Caton's voice cracked, small. I wasn't made aware of the full history. Janelle didn't blink. You weren't interested. No one said a word. Amira stood taller than anyone, cuffs still on. You called me lost, but never asked what I was holding on to. The judge opened her mouth again, then closed it. Her hands trembled as she removed her glasses, sitting back as if the bench itself weighed her down. Nothing left to say. The bailiff shifted, the clerk slowed, glancing to Officer Carter. He broke the silence. Motion to vacate sentencing, pending review of a legal seizure. Judge Caton nodded. No gavel, no ceremony, just silence. Lena whispered to her stream. And just like that, truth crushed the room. Amira's cuffs came off. No applause. No cheers. Reverence. Janelle took her sister's hand, guiding her away. The courtroom that seconds ago was a temple of silence now buzzed with disbelief. Judge Caton gripped the bench edges like they might hold her steady, but nothing did. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, she stammered. From the gallery, Janelle's voice cut like glass. No, Judge. You didn't want to know. A hush heavier than stone. The prosecutor swallowed, eyes darting nervously. The state withdraws all charges against Ms. Bell, effective immediately. No pride. Only fear. Amira blinked, not surprised, just steady. Officer Carter stood slowly, voice calm but loaded. I've reviewed the entire acquisition file. Judge Caton approved seizure without manual review. He turned to the room. This wasn't a mistake. It was policy. A gasp escaped. Lena's stream captured it all. Judge signed away a home built by a state-honored architect. No one checked. How many others? This isn't a courtroom, it's a pipeline. Outside, protests doubled, tripled. Veterans, teachers, architects held signs. Heritage isn't trespassing. She speaks for us all. Judge Caton shook her head, voice breaking. I've sentenced murderers, rapists. I didn't think. Janelle stepped forward, gaze sharp. Exactly. You didn't think. You stamped papers and buried families. The words hit the judge like a stone. She sank into her seat, not to rule, but to retreat. Lena zoomed in, not for drama, but truth. A judge cloaked in black, crumbling under shame. Officer Carter addressed the people, not the judge. Say his name. Victor Bell. Amira covered her mouth, not to hide, but to steady. Too late for hiding. Janelle wrapped an arm around her. Amira whispered, just loud enough. But no one rushed to comfort her, not because they didn't believe in mercy, but because mercy only lives where truth is told. Until that moment, Judge Caton lived only in paperwork. The room settled, not empty, but full, heavy with meaning. The judge cleared her throat, voice barely a whisper. All charges are vacated. Ms. Bell, you're free to go. No applause. Just stillness that said, finally. The bailiff unclasped the cuffs. The sound small, but louder than any gavel. A chain of injustice quietly broken. Lena's viewer count ticked past 300. 000, and rising. No caption needed. A black girl, head held high, not freed by pity, but truth.